We talked last week, we started with this quote from Thomas Jefferson, and it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the right to inhale and exhale, to do so freely as their minds desire, and to create labor and to enjoy the prosperity from that labor." And although the idea of America was exceptional, the application of it has been evil and still is. There are still some people today that are not seeing this life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Even this statement made that all men are created equal did not include Negroes or women. So again, the idea was great, but the application of it was and still is evil. And don't tell me that we ought to not talk about these things because it's the past. Don't tell me that we don't need to talk about slave mentalities because we're not on the plantation anymore. Well, you still have slave mentalities because slavery still exists. I need you to understand that. And so this whole thing about all men being created equal and the idea that it came from spirit-filled Christian men, and we tag Christianity on this. It leads us to now even the thought of we don't want to even embrace Christianity because it's the white man's religion. It is what they sold us on the plantation. And I want to challenge that a little bit today. Because it was not Christianity. What they experienced had nothing to do with Jesus. I need you to understand that. So stop with that's why I don't embrace it, because it's the white man's Christianity. It was not Christianity. It was not. I can help you with that. Don't buy that lie. There is, now hear me. There is nothing more important than people or for people than faith in God through Jesus. Write that down. There is nothing more important for people, all people, than faith in God through Jesus. That is my stance. That is my belief. I will never leave that. Now, if you're going to quote some, quote that. There is nothing greater than a man's faith in God through Jesus. But what they presented was not Christianity at all. Anything that demeans the image of God in a human being, reducing them to a beast of the field, is clearly anti-Christian. I need you to hear this. They were even restricted from the basic sacraments, baptism and communion. Why? Because they believed that this was only for humans. So it couldn't have been Christianity. They were not even allowed to read. They were left to this false interpretation of Scripture from their master. Wasn't Christianity. They were even given Bibles. You call it, if you look it up, it's called the Slave Bible. That was missing half of the Bible. Listen, they deliberately moved parts, and this is not Christianity at all. So stop saying it was Christianity and that's why I don't embrace it. It was not. It was evil. It was demonic. You can see testimonies from Christian slaves like Harriet Tubman and Nate Turner, Fred Douglass, who wrote in many passages that what they were fed was directly in conflict of the Scripture. They didn't give us the credit for being as smart as they or as we were. Anything, write this down, anything that is a perversion of Christianity is clearly not Christianity. And that is what we saw then. I want to talk about this because the title of this is The Equality of Man. The equality, thoughts on the equality of man and the healing of black and white America. I don't believe that you can get to even the beginning of healing without having such talks. And I don't think such talks should happen on Saturday mornings or Tuesday evenings or in closed meetings where nobody knows what you're talking about. I think these meetings should be held on Sunday morning when most of our people are here so we can hear our responsibility in the healing. Y'all quiet up in here. And we got to get away from the idea that that was just the time. They were a product of the time. They get a pass from our nation because they were men of the time. No, they were slave traders. They were men stealers. They were rapists. They were murderers. You don't get a pass for that. Back then, the government, and even still now, and even the white church support slavery. They support the slave mentality. They support the systematic bias and racism and prejudice that we see every day. They support this. It's demonic. And they have a heart to minimize this at all costs. There is something that just won't let some white people say that it was wrong. I've sat and had talks with people, and they will not simply say, yes, sir, that was wrong. That's a problem. How do you get to a place of healing when you won't admit that it was wrong? And it's even more subtle now because it's in the fabrics of everything. And I'm not teaching this so we can go around being paranoid and calling everybody a racist and everybody's prejudiced and looking over your shoulder. But I want you to be aware of what's in our world and our responsibility in it. You can't judge those men, Pastor. That was back in the day. That was a product of the time. We judge everybody else. We judge Ellen, and we judge Elton John, and we judge Obama, and we judge everybody else. So I want to talk about, is that Jesus? Let's do some defining real quick before I move on. Put up the definition. Let's define discrimination, prejudice, and racism, because some of us think they're all the same, and they're not. Discrimination is the intentional working of hate and ignorance. It is the practice of separating, the practice of making a difference in treatment or in favor. I have hatred in my heart, and I on purpose carry it out by mistreating certain people. That's what discrimination is. Now, we also can discriminate. You can be a discriminator. Is that a word? Discrimination reveals that prejudice exists. Prejudice is a negative attitude or opinion against an individual, a group, a race, look at this, without just grounds or before sufficient knowledge. You have no knowledge, no justification to have this negative attitude or opinion regarding me, but you have it and you're strong about it. That's called prejudice. But it's based on assumed characteristics that the media feeds us, that blacks are lazy and blacks are nasty and blacks are ghetto and Jews are cheap and white folks smell like dogs. And all Hispanics and Latinos are illegal. And they can't speak English. You want somebody to work? Give you a Hispanic. They're going to work real hard. Asians are cheap. They all own cleaners and fried rice joints. This is prejudice. And it's funny because you think you can't be a part of that. And you would flip a table if you were treated with prejudice. But you will tell your children, how much you pay for that? $100? You should have Jewed them down. You should have, that's not okay to say. We didn't know that. But once you know better, are y'all quiet now? You should have Jewed them down. Why you always japping out? Trey never said, you know you can't say that, right? But why, listen, so don't get uncomfortable now. Why do we get a pass, but others don't? And we have all entertained our own prejudices. But we're all not racist. Matter of fact, there are two categories of prejudice. Put those up. Are y'all still here? Yes. I said, are you still here? Yes. There is overt prejudice, which is rooted in hatred and dislike. It is open. You can see it. It's in the forefront of our thinking and our acting. It is taught on purpose. You go to school with people. You work with people that have been taught on purpose to hate you. You feel it? It's a reaction, write this down, to dramatic events. My mama got beat up by two black men coming home from work. So now I have this overt prejudice against black people and black men. You've been mistreated by another race. You had someone in your family that experienced hardship by another race. So you have this overt prejudice. And then you have this subtle prejudice. Write it down. It is rooted in ignorance. It is rooted in assumption. It is rooted in fear. Go to pick up my son from school, and the classmate says, oh, you got a daddy? It's rooted in ignorance. It's rooted in assumption. It's rooted in what the media tells us, that all black people don't have two parents in the home. That you mean you're a young black male and your daddy live with you? And it's revealed in environmental settings. It was caught, most of it not taught. It is called subtle prejudice. Then you have racism. Come on, let's go. Racism. It is a belief that race is the primary cause of human behavior, human qualities, and human characters. It says race determines what you can do, what you can't do, how you can do it, how you can live, where you can't live, what you can't have, what you can have. Race determines that with some people. It is intentional. It is systemic. It's layered. Racism. Now, I want to discuss this in our town hall because there is this thing on the table that blacks can't be racist. We can discriminate, we can be prejudiced, but can we be racist? Tatum said we're going to talk about that. Now, put this box or quadrant on the screen last week. Put that up here. This individual and societal, because the understanding of this is crucial for America as it relates to racism. Now, we talked about, on the individual side, accountability. Put it up there. The ability to give an account. The ability to give an account. We must better ourselves apart from what they have done, because you're going to be responsible for your behavior. You can't go in the store and rob somebody. You can't go in the mall and smash and grab and say, I did it because of racism. I did it because of the slave stuff. I did it because I wasn't taught. No, you're going to be held accountable. So you have this individual accountability and individual mindset. How you think shapes your behavior. Words and images affect your mindset. And you are responsible for that on the individual side. Say something. Only victims feel like I am responsible for nothing. So you have individual accountability, the ability to give an account, and you have individual mindset, but you cannot leave out the societal responsibility of the environment. Because part of the mindset we see came from the environment that the society has to take responsibility for. Because they'll tell you, they'll look at you, and they'll judge you based on, because you're young, you're 16, 17, 18, you're black, then you must be a rapper, you must have dropped out of school, you must be selling drugs, you must have no future, no destiny, and that is not true. And part of that mindset comes from what the environment has taught us. What is in the environment that's been feeding to black people that they're not valuable? Not the field. We offer that. But now, today, in school and in sports and on television and in commercials, what's in the drinking water that's telling your son, you're not as good as them, you're inferior, you're not valuable? What's in there? Something is there. And society has to take responsibility for the environment. Because what happens if they don't, on both sides of the coin, you got a black child who grows up in poverty, not experiencing things he should have experienced, experiencing things that never should have happened to him or her. They grow up with anger. They grow up with trauma. And the minute you say something to them at the store, the mall, in the classroom, you got to deal with 20 years of baggage that's been undealt with. But on the same token, you got a white guy raised in the South who's told that the black folk are out to get you. And they're no good. And they're messing up society. And look at them tearing up the malls. And you can't even go nowhere for black people. Those same white mindsets walk into a black church and shoot it up. And feel justified in doing so. Y'all quiet up in here. So we got to start talking about the healing. And I don't have all the answers. I have what I have. I have my part. See, the thing about it is you cannot change the world, but you can affect your world. And if everybody affects their world, the world will be changed and will move in the right direction. The healing of black America. I believe healing begins when white America does these things here. We left off here last week. Are you here? Number one, they must acknowledge that American slavery was a wicked and deplorable sin. I can say it all day. They have to say it. I've sat with evangelicals through the last 2 years, and they will not say it. They won't say, how can you not say that? And your church is 30% black people. How can you not address it? How can you not say that was wrong? White America must do this. White America in general, including Christians. Especially Christians. Especially those that confess Jesus as Lord. You got to be able to see that these lives have been devalued, and I can't fix it. I can't go back. I'm not going to defend it, though. I'm just going to say it was wrong. Stop minimizing it. Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, look at black people now. They got affirmative action. They got this. I mean, what else do y'all want? It wasn't that bad. You ought to be slapped in the mouth for saying that. Number two, admit that the effects of slavery are still present in America. They must admit that the effects of slavery are still present in America. I told you, slave mindset still exists because slavery still exists. You're just not on the field picking cotton. I don't want you to get paranoid, but just think of your last couple of corporate jobs you had. Slavery is so visible there. I'm not talking about your role, your title, your degree. We all got it. I ain't talking about that. Because you could be the head of your class with the corner office. But to some people, you will always be. And they want you to know it. They want you to feel it. They want you to be in your place. I've had to in the last, I don't know if it's because of the series I'm teaching now, the last couple of weeks I've had to confront a couple of brothers, a couple of our Caucasian brothers, because they forget. And society has caused such a boldness and an audacity that you forget that, wait a minute, Mr. Sir. Let's start this conversation over. And they're angry. And their hearts are full of rage toward us. Not all of them. I'm not talking about everybody. Don't you get me wrong. This is not a power black, anti-white message. I'm just telling you truth here. But there are some. I tell a guy last week at the game, like, hey, man, wait a minute. Like, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm going to need you to shut up right now. Oh, that's what I told him. I need you to shut up right now. Oh, and he was mad. He was angry. He's ready to fight because he wanted to put me in my place. And because I talked back, he didn't like that. Number 3, confront your negative perception of black people. They must confront their negative perception of black people, their fears, their stereotypes. Expect more of yourself, talking to white America, in your interactions with people of color. Expect more of yourselves in your interaction with people of color. Do better. Expect better. Find the best in black people that you engage with. I need you to hear me. Now, although we're sitting in this room today, people are watching this from everywhere. And I have people watching this from other places and other churches and schools and whites and blacks and whatever. And so I am not trying to teach a message to stir up strife or that's not what I'm doing. But sometimes the truth just makes you uncomfortable regardless. And I'm telling white America what we need to do to begin the process of healing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to get to what black America needs to do as well. So acknowledge that slavery was a wicked and deplorable sin. Number 2, admit that the effects of slavery are still present in America. Number 3, confront your negative perception of black people, because most have a negative perception. If I go to one of my son's game and just speak too loud to one of the parents, I'm the aggressor. Oh, hold on, Mr. Royal. Hey, what you mean? I just said hello. You gotta confront your negative perception of me and expect more of yourself when interacting with me. You got to do better. You got to expect better. You got to find the best in me and not what TV has told you. Because I'm not here to be your friend anyway. I'm here to watch my son's game and go to my son's report card pickup. I'm not here to rub shoulders with you. I'm not here to be your black friend. Now, we can be genuine, but I'm not here to play your games. I'm not here for that. And when you talk, they don't like it. I called the school. I called the meeting. I told you don't go up to these places acting crazy and acting wild. You got to be intelligent. There must be an intelligent approach to wrongdoing. Write that down. There must be an intelligent approach to wrongdoing. So I went and sat down. Let's talk. Can we talk for a minute? Now, I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes here, but this is just the surface. I need a meeting with the president and the principal because there's a bigger issue here. There's too many isolated issues here that it's obvious are not being properly addressed, so we got to sit down and talk about this and how we can address this student body or address this organization or address this company or the department you work in, but there has to be an intelligent approach to it. You go in there screaming and kicking over chairs and acting a fool. You've just fed right into what they wanted you to do. They want you to come in there doing that. And they were shocked. I'm sitting there 8 in the morning. And they're waiting for me to go off. And I don't have a go off in me. But I have intelligence. I know how to navigate this conversation. And I need to hear back from you by the end of the day. Because you're not going to drop this ball. You're going to set up something bigger. because we're going to talk about this. And I want to be a part of this healing. I want to be a part of this address. I can help you address the student body because you apparently can't do it. You may not be able to say it because you got boosters and you got donors and there's certain things you can't say. I get it. I'll say it. Number 4, you have to intentionally and consistently build dialogue. We must, they must, you must, talking about white America, educate your ignorance. Well, I didn't know that was going to be offensive. If it seems offensive, then it is. And don't feed me that. You knew that was offensive before you said it. You knew that joke don't fly nowhere, especially in a room full of black people. But this new audacity, this new boldness has you doing things that you wouldn't have done before. But you must intentionally and consistently build dialogue. How often do you sit and talk with your white counterparts? How often, when you talk with them, are you engaging with them honestly and not talking to them in a way that makes them comfortable with your blackness? I just said something right there. Because I used to find myself, Chris, making a whole lot of adjustments to make white people feel comfortable in our conversation. I'm intelligent. I don't have to go overboard to make you feel comfortable. This is who I am. This is how I am. This is how I talk. This is my history. This is my culture. I'm not changing that to make you feel comfortable. I'm not going to reduce my blackness to make you feel comfortable. It's not a bad thing. It is genuine. It is who you are. That's why some of us are so caught off right now, because we change up too much for people. That's who you are. That's how you laugh. That's how you receive. That's how you give. That's what you like. Don't change that for other people to make them feel comfortable with who you are. As long as who I am is not hindering you or hurting you, this is who I am. Are y'all still here? Yes. Number 5, you must eliminate the N-word. Amen. You got to just doggone and stop saying it. Well, I didn't, somebody told me once, well, I didn't say ER, I said GA. It doesn't matter. Because I just feel like that's my homie. And no, you don't get to say that. Listen. On one hand, it is the ultimate insult because it's a word that has tormented generations of African Americans. But in our society, it's become popular. A term of endearment. Among young people today and old people, it means my homie, my buddy, my friend. We call white people that. What's up, my nigga? We're going to talk about this. And I've looked at this word, and it started off as just a descriptor, Negro. And as early as the 17th century, Negro evolved into nigger. And it was intentionally derogatory. And it has not changed since then. So if you use it, you can't change how you use it or try to explain to me that ain't what I meant. No. It was brought out and it was intentionally derogatory even in the 17th century, and it still is today. It's not changed. Even when black people say, I'm just going to take ownership of it, that's our word. No. It has tormented generations of African Americans. We need to let that word go. I'm talking to myself because in just casual conversation, sometimes I'll use it. I'll throw it out there. We'll joke about it. We need to stop it. I'm talking to white America. We're going to get to black America. I'm talking to white America. It's forever linked with violence and brutality and insults and rape and murder and the killing of black souls and black bodies. That's what that word is linked to. And you can't change the meaning to mean that's just my homie. Y'all quiet up in here. That word is blood soaked in our history. Right? America has to do that. But we got to have conversations about it. Now, there's some people who are just flat out ignorant. They don't know. Then there are some people, listen to me carefully, who know and on purpose use these words. You just can't do that. Now, because it's Sunday morning, there is unpacking I cannot do because of time. But as we sit on Wednesday nights, we'll unpack these truths that should be self-evident. Because something that's self-evident shouldn't need any help. It should be clear. Are y'all listening to me? So number one, they must acknowledge that American slavery was a wicked and deplorable sin. Stop minimizing slavery. I've had to disconnect from a lot of our evangelicals because they showed their hand during these last couple of years. And I thought we were friends, only to find out that I never was. I was someone being tolerated. Because as Christians and as the time that we're in, you gotta love on them and let a few of them in and treat them well, but behind closed doors. Number two, you must admit that the effects of slavery are still present in America. Number three, you must confront your negative perception of black people. Number four, you must intentionally and consistently build dialogue. And number five, you must eliminate the N-word. We're going to talk about these in detail. It's a responsibility of white America, not apart from Christians. They are included in this as well. But it should be safe to read these, and whether you're a Christian, whether you're whatever, this goes for you. I believe that healing also begins with black America. Can I give you these? They don't sound like y'all want them. I'm over time, but I want to give them to you. Y'all come on down so we can, if I give them to you, I have to unpack them later. I'm trying to gauge y'all because y'all looking at me like I'm new here. And y'all was just singing Precious Lord and Jesus gonna work it out. Is he not working it out now? When Sam Cooke was singing, y'all was yelling and y'all looking like. So, should I go into the 5 or should I wait until next week? Okay, I got 5 minutes. Can I go into the 5? I believe the healing begins when black America, number one, throws out the victim mentality. We must free ourselves from the mentality of defeat. We don't have to live wounded because we've been shot. We must get rid of the victim mentality. Now, I can talk about this for 5 weeks. We're not telling you that things did not happen to us. We're not telling you that the effects of slavery are gone. They still exist. We just told you that. But you must, we must, I must throw out the victim mentality. if they never say what we want them to say, if they never adhere to the 5 things I just read, you cannot continue to be the victim. And I think some people, not just around slavery or the black and white issue, I think some people like being the victim. Because now I don't have to take responsibility. I can push off everything on somebody else. Even in our family history, even in our traumatic past, even with our dysfunction, you get to heal and you get to move on and you get to see the destiny that God has set up for your life. You don't get to remain the victim. You don't get to remain the victim. You don't get to remain the victim if they don't ever say they're sorry, if they never apologize, if white America never comes in and accept black people as a whole. You don't get to remain the victim. Free yourself from the mentality of defeat. Victim mentality breeds defeat. And I refuse to live wounded because I've been shot. Number 1, throw out the victim mentality. Number 2, don't become they. Don't become they. What you despise, what you don't like, what has made you feel away, what you still see in the fabrics of your world today, don't become that. Don't embrace bigotry and prejudice and discrimination. Now, we're going to talk about, can blacks be racist? Some say, yeah, they can be racist. Some say, no, we can't. From the definition of a racism is, I can't be a racist. But don't become they. Number 3, don't play into the propaganda. Don't play into the misinformation, into the programming, into the marketing. Don't play into how they see us. Don't give them more ammunition. When I see certain things, I'm like, man, chill out. That's what they want you to do. And what happens is, when we play into that, it brings a shadow over all of us. When I go shopping, I have money to shop. I have no ill intention. I want to go in and get what I want to get. I want to come out, Jason, that's it. But because of some of us playing into the propaganda, I can't even go in and shop without somebody following me, watching me, looking at me, because the news has said all blacks coming in here to steal. Maybe they're going to smash and grab. Maybe they're trying to steal from the register. Maybe they run out here with that shoe. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to shop like this. So we got to stop playing into the propaganda. Ooh, Elder, I want to unpack it, but I just don't have the time. I got to go get my wings for the Super Bowl. Teach your children, don't play into that. You can have fashion, you can look a certain way, all of that. But there are certain things we got to be careful of. Me walking into a place with a hoodie on is completely different than a Caucasian man walking to the same place with a hoodie on. I tell my son, you're driving now. You're not with me. I'm not there. I can't protect you. You got to make wise decisions. There's certain things you cannot do. I don't want you driving, lean back, hoodie on, music loud. And ain't nothing wrong with it, but you can't do that. And if you're pulled over, I need you to follow the instructions. I need you to make it home, and we'll fight about it later. We'll go to court later, but I need you to make it home. I don't need you to get smart with the police and tell them how you feel and what you saw on TV, and I'm for George Floyd. No, there ain't the time for that. You do what he's telling you to do, because you do know you can even comply and still get shot. Don't play into it. There's a time for everything. And every time you get pulled over, or every time there's a white person confronting you, there's a time for you to be Fred Hampton. That ain't Black Panther time all the time. Don't play and chew it. Number 4, because I got to go. Anticipate racism. Be aware that somewhere somebody will seek to on purpose hate you because of your skin. But I want you to respond in a way that reflects the change you want to see. Shut it down and express your values. Anticipate it. If you anticipate it and plan to respond with intelligence, you won't be fighting everywhere you go and arguing everywhere you go. And you done got into it with the waiter. You done got into it with the gas person. You done got into it with the lady at the school because you think everybody is racist and everybody out to get you. And everybody's not. But when it does happen, I'm going to intelligently respond. If I even need to respond. There are sometimes it's like, you know what? Psst. It's not even worth it. Because your ignorance runs so deep, I ain't got the time to unravel it. Anticipate it. Play something nice for me, sir. Anticipate it. Number 5. This is Black America. Choose love and peace. I can't do that. I can't do that. You don't know what these people out here doing. Well, we just celebrated Dr. King's birthday. And y'all talk about Dr. King all the time. Well, he was a man of peace. He says, I've decided to stick with love. Look at this. Because hate is too great a burden to bear. Well, I ain't heard no scripture yet. Yes, you have. I just didn't give you verse. But you heard some scripture today. But let me give you one. Romans 12, verse 18. It says, and do your best to live at peace. Look at this. Look at this. With all people. But it's a choice. Number 6. We must eliminate the N-word. Now, when I said it for white America, y'all said, that's right. Now, this is the part for Black America. We must also eliminate the N-word. Y'all don't get to say it. That's our word. Well, I don't want the word. If the word is bloodstained and it was used to torture and torment blacks for centuries, it has murder on it. It has the value on it. We shouldn't use it. When they finish church service, after they've totally killed the scripture, you tell this black man, come here, ER, and you chain him up, and you go in the barn where his daughter is, and you rape her at will, all while calling her this word. We should eliminate that. I beg to differ. I got a different study. I got a different perspective, and that's fine. But I have the mic. And I believe that we should. And when I said this, I'm not talking about, because I ain't never said the word. I'm preaching to myself as well. And it's not, sometimes it's not a problem till you hear it used back. And I heard my son use it with his brother. Hey, you can tell this that. And I'm like, hey. And I had the audacity to say, Jason, we don't use that word when I use it myself. How am I going to tell my son not to use it when I use it? I didn't like hearing it come from him. But with me, I was just saying. It's not okay. I'm going to keep saying it. You keep saying it. That's on you. But you asked me to give you the things. And number 6 is we must eliminate the N-word. How do we know when we're moving towards real resolutions? When there is no underrepresentation or overrepresentation in society. But whites kill whites too. Not at the rate blacks killing blacks. Why is that? What's in the drinking water? Why is it? Why is there more of us in prison? How do we know when we're moving towards real resolutions? When our laws are in harmony with our values. Because law is not the foundation of democracy. Goodwill and humility is the foundation of democracy. Because goodwill and humility lead to equitable laws that are equitably applied. Because an unjust law is not a law. Citizens of goodwill make laws that are fair. And then you stop seeing 2 different sentences for the same crime. This is us moving into healing, moving toward resolution. I'm not saying we're not doing that. I'm saying we got to talk about this so we can keep doing it. We can keep moving. We can keep healing. We can keep advancing. We can keep growing. We can keep eliminating and denouncing the spirit of division, which is behind it all. I told you last week they want you to pick a side. You right or left. You're Democrat or Republican. You left wing, right wing. And they're part of the same bird. Are y'all hearing my heart today? Kind of challenging to even teach this. But I believe it's necessary. We got off to an unusual start to part 2, volume 2. But I believe you're getting it. If you are, can you clap your hands at least? Give me some grace in teaching this as I lay it out in Jesus'